We are at May 6th, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I'm, wow, that was a little bit hard to say. May 6th. Okay, anyway, I'm Joey Ragona. I'm comfortable in my skin. And my guest and I, we were just talking about that because we are going to show up authentically and in the house and the way it is and just be who we are. My amazing guest today is Sherrie Rose, and we've known each other for a while, but we've never actually met. So this is going to be pretty fun. We've never ever talked in person, by the way. So we're going to introduce ourselves and get to know each other live on the air today. And that's what I love about you, Sherry, because you just said, I'm comfortable in my own skin. Let's just go for it. Let's do it. So, for anybody who doesn't know you, I know a little bit about you in the group that we're in and in around what we're, kind of following each other. Tell us about what you do, who you are, and why you're so awesome.
Wow. The awesome part, I don't know if I'll answer that, but I go by the title of Chief Legacy Officer, and that came to me a few years ago based on some of the work that I was doing. And more recently, it's really morphed into something a little bit different, masterwork, and we'll talk about that. And I'll tell you why we're using the term masterwork instead of legacy.
Hmm.
Because the connotations, the things that people automatically assume when they hear certain words.
Hmm.
And since we are living in a world of AI, and I am a geek from many years ago, I am so old that I beta tested some of the original browsers. That's
Oh,
how old I
wow.
am.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Not old, experienced.
A little bit of both. Maturity
Maturity
comes with it. Experience, and they say that somebody's seasoned. Yeah, I've got some of that seasoning. And I do love technology. I love what AI is doing, but I also realize that we have to tie in the past, the present, and the future. We can't just constantly looking at the future. And if we don't learn from the past, both from the history and the lessons, we all know the story. History repeats itself. So what are we going to do to improve our personal lives, family, within the community, and then on the world as a whole. And there are definitely people who are going, it's not just our world. I mean, I've got a map behind me. It's just 2D for this particular planet, but what about the other planets? What
Mhm.
about Mars? What about I could have conversations about outer space. My father-in-law is a physicist, and he's helped put satellites up there around the world. So I could go into those conversations, but let's just focus on the ideas of masterwork and why having that intentional creation in your life totally shifts who you are and how you show up.
I'm loving this so far, and thank you for bringing that to our attention because I like you, I have maybe not tested the original browsers, but I've been around before the internet of what it is today in terms of online marketing. I grew my first business with actual snail mail, typing on one piece of little paper with actual typewriter before I got my first dot matrix computer and thought that was cool. And desktop publishing, forget what the first one was, but it was, still drawing out the little lines and creating little pictures and went worldwide. I was really proud of that. It was 1987 to 1990, and I went worldwide selling records over newsletters and mail order, and then and it was all based
You
on
and Dan
relationships.
Kennedy were in the same department.
Yeah, yeah, and I didn't even know who or what Dan Kennedy was at that point. I remember my first marketing book, one of my very first marketing books was Guerrilla Marketing. That was the one that changed everything for me. And it was like, oh, okay, I'm going to do this thing differently. And it was so, so great. And then later on, years and years later, I got into, the Dan Kennedys and who all these people were, the Gary Halberts, all these things. Um, and now today it's still relevant. Like that's what we've left behind. And even like you said about technology and AI and writing and copy, and I've been a copy person. I wouldn't say I'm so a copywriter, but a person since the early '80s. That's all I've been doing, and I think I can communicate really well in written word better than what I'm doing right now with you in speaking. But you know, uh, and so, yeah, I think that there's a huge opportunity for us to incorporate the technology because I've been incorporating a technology all of my life. I'm a geek as well, but also know that it's a tool and I don't lean on it as a crutch. So I don't know if that's going to open up any kind of a conversation, but I'm going to let you lead this, and we're going to talk about mastercraft and start there. So what is it? What are we talking
It's
about?
Masterwork.
Or master
But
work?
I
Master work.
want to make a comment about the sign behind you, we do different.
Yes.
And that reminds me of Steve Jobs and the think different and the Apple. And you were talking about, the dot matrix printer, the Apple, which they borrowed the information from IBM Park, that really changed how we interface. And, I'm computer agnostic. I have a Mac, I have a PC, I have a Chrome, whatever. If it's a great tool, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I don't go to the church of any particular piece of machinery. They all are great. But doing things differently is important, and part of that difference is the language that we use. And my business start, I actually gave myself the title of the love linguist.
Okay.
Not because I really wanted to go down that path, but I had created what we would call now an infographic, and I gave it to this guy who was at a conference with me. He ran a software company. He's looking at this thing, he goes, "Oh, this is brilliant." He goes, "You've totally explained women to men." I said, "Yeah, that's the whole purpose of it." And so he gave it to this guy who ended up, his company contacted me, and then I did this big interview. And he said, "You gotta have a name, you gotta be selling something, whatever." I'm like, okay, I can look something up. So I became this love linguist and developed this program, and did this interview that at the time it was an actual CD. Not like we're doing right now. We've got video, it's like so fast. And that was my first taste of real entrepreneurial internet marketing, and having that experience of having online clients and all those things that I had zero intention of doing. I went down a path because I was smart about something with this infographic that took me somewhere, and that brought me into the whole world of internet marketing, which then people got into social media marketing, and then there's crypto, and now we have AI. Everybody gets the flavor of the month.
Right.
AI is definitely different, and it's going to shift a lot of things, not just the regular types of business, but how we're going to see legacy, and how we're going to treat things. Like I like to believe that everybody has a digital safekeeper for all their important stuff. I know that's not true. I'd like to believe it. But eventually, everything will be on the cloud, not just little bits and pieces.
Mm-hmm.
The generations are shifting, and we still have people who are more analog than digital, but that will all change. Everything will be shifted on, and how are you going to control your narrative and your story and your masterwork?
Okay, let's get into this. How are we going to do that? And by the way, I'm taking notes. I'm not ignoring you because I want to write down everything you're saying as much as I can. Okay. So how are we going to do this? What is masterwork?
Well, as I shared with you earlier, that masterwork, it's a present act of creation. It's something that you're doing in the now, distinct from your business or your career, and deeper than legacy. And in fact, I would say that masterwork is at the intersection, that space. You think of a Venn diagram between livelihood and legacy.
Okay.
And it's not your profession or your business, even though it evolves from them. But it's clearly, you have to be anchored in an intention. It may happen sporadically, but you really need to have that intention and clarity that is driven by your values, that reflects who you are. You could say that masterwork is your body of work. But most people feel like, do I have a body of work? And when they think of masterwork, they may think of masterpiece like art, or masterwork like Shakespeare's masterwork. But we all have masterwork, and it goes beyond our title and our role, even though earlier I said I'm the chief legacy officer. But it really is what matters most to you, And it's this powerful work that you're creating today that really is aligned with your essence, who you are.
I'm loving this. All right. So how do we step into this? And please use me as a guinea pig if you need to be to um tear apart what I'm doing or look at it, whatever it is, because
Well,
um
I'm
yeah,
gonna
I
I'll ask you questions,
okay.
and by me asking you questions, anybody who's listening will say, how does that question apply to me?
Okay, cool. Let's do that.
So the question is, do you have for your personal life or your business, or maybe you're involved in a community, like I help put on the TEDx San Diego talk. So that's one of my volunteer activities.
Right.
And with that, volunteer work that we do in the community, we have a plan. I have a personal plan in my life. There's a business plan. What is the length of your plan? Is it a year? Is it 2 years? What is the length of your plan?
I
How
would
many
say it
years you've mapped it out?
10 years at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you qualify as a decade navigator.
Cool. I'm gonna write that down.
Yes, decade navigator. The people who I believe that are the most attracted to the idea of masterwork are ones that believe that they have the wherewithal to be a decade navigator, because you're mapping out your life, you're mapping out your business. A lot of that, and when you are intentional, then things flow. And those of us, I live in California. I'm originally from Canada. I live in California. I had a very different experience of understanding how people have this broad mindset here in California.
Okay.
I live in a hippie town, San Diego.
Nice. I love San Diego. I'm coming to visit.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It's peace, love, make love, not war. It's flower power. But it's really that idea of this expansiveness, and this is where, on an astrological, the age of Aquarius. I mean, it's all happening here. You can find it, all these different ways of thinking that are open. And so when you're a decade navigator and you have intention of this is what's going to be happening over the next year, then you start to embrace and encompass the masterwork that is within you. And whether you have a absolutely locked in idea, or you have one where you have put either pebbles, or maybe you put big rocks, because sometimes it's only pebbles, and then
Right.
you're evolving, and so things change.
Right.
Not
And
that
I
it,
do feel that. Oh, go ahead. Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
and it's not that you have to lock it in and it's like concrete. No, you put it down there and it evolves. Things evolve with you. The right people show up, the right situations show up, the right opportunities come their way. It's like you claim something, you write it down, you commit to it, you share it, and all of a sudden, it's like you
Yeah.
can't believe.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Florence Shin?
That I am
Ever
not.
heard of her?
No.
So she wrote this book in, I'm going to say, around the time of the Great Depression, called The Game of Life and How to Play It.
Okay.
And she was what I would call the original person that came up with affirmations.
Really?
It's a very, very thin book. Excellent, absolutely everything applies. And it's simple language, no extra fluff. Now, I'm a bit of I said before, a love linguist, but I love language, and I'm very specific in how I use certain words. And that's why when I was looking and talking about what I'm doing, it's like I have to use something that is a very clear word that I can give the definition, which is masterwork. Because it is not livelihood, it is not legacy, it's that intersection of the two of them.
So what is the difference now between, if somebody's listening, and I'm even curious, between legacy and masterwork? Because you've said it a few times. It's not legacy. And I'd love to know what's the difference there.
So I'm going to do what you're not supposed to do and answer a question with a question. So when you hear the word legacy, what comes to your mind?
what I leave the world with. Again, the works, the knowledge, the inspiration, the IP, all of it. Like, what do I leave the world with so that when people are thinking about me, they're like, "Yep, that's what Joey did,
Right.
left us with. Well, that's how I remember Joey."
It's like a culmination. It's a leaving your mark. It's the end. It's
Ah,
not the process.
okay,
It's not the middle piece,
I got you.
right? And the other piece with legacy is, this is what somebody would say they're attaching their financial estate to, they're attaching their will to, it's a little bit more, I'm gonna say, legal in some people's minds, and also because, speaking of domains, legacy.com, if you've ever been there, it's just a website full of obituaries.
Yeah, I've never been there. No. Well,
So, so death and legacy go together, and that's why it's often shunned.
hmm,
So masterwork, a little more intriguing, and it's either a singular or a combination. It's a set of accomplishments. When you look at it, and you're constantly cultivating, developing, and building on this, and it's not necessarily just your business or your legacy. It's also who you are as a person.
hmm, okay.
So you may, if if you're working on your memoir may have a little bit of your business, but has a lot of who you are as a person. So masterwork is more all-encompassing as opposed to just your job, or just you as a person, or just you as your financial paperwork.
So in
Masterwork.
okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna
Your
say,
turn.
first of all, before I say this, by the way, if you're watching us, let us know with the hashtag live or hashtag replay. We're here with Sherrie Rose, one of my new good friends, and we're talking about masterwork and all of this great stuff about how we are building something in the now, in the creation of now. Am I getting this right? That will leave an impact on the world, or not even leaving the impact on the world, but actually impact the world as we're going toward.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
Because the masterwork lives in the space, that intersection where livelihood and legacy meet. Just
I
think of
love
it
it.
as a Venn diagram. That's that
Okay.
middle piece.
Yeah. Um, okay, so the question I had was, when I'm talking about legacy, I don't really talk a lot about legacy anyway. But if somebody was asking me questions or what are you doing this for? And when I reference legacy, it's more about I'm building my legacy. And it's not about here's where I want to leave. It's more about no, I'm doing this now to build my legacy. And it would be great if people remembered me for this, but I'm building this as I go. Because a lot of stuff I don't even know what my legacy is going to be, but I'm in the process of building it. Would you say that kind of is encompassing masterwork in any sense, shape, or form?
Right. So legacy is a word that is related to like heritage and almost a physical connection to things you're leaving behind.
Okay.
Rather than masterwork is an ongoing process, it's dynamic. It includes legacy on one level because in essence those will be part of the things that you will leave behind.
Mm.
And it includes your livelihood because it probably relates to the things that you're passionate about and that you're working on. Now, your livelihood you may be at a point in your life where you may have, done an early retirement and you're totally involved in a foundation that you've created. That's still your livelihood.
Right.
And who you are as a person, what are you giving, your community, the things that you're involved in. I mean, whether it's regular volunteer work, other kind, maybe a foundation that you've created. But this masterwork really is part of your essence. You're not necessarily doing it just to make money.
Right.
The idea isn't I'm here to grow and scale. And then the other part of masterwork, which I think is important in anything, but the people you attract the peers of people, they may have a different type of masterwork that they're working on, but they're high achievers like you, and they lift you up, they energize you,
Yes.
so that your conversations grow towards growth and abundance and possibility. And so what's the standard that you're setting? Are you setting a standard that the people who are showing up in your life? And right now, I feel very honored to be part of this, because I feel like
Thank you.
I've been elevated to be here with you today.
Thank you. Back at you. Our world that we're in with Geo and Archangel and all over the world that we are in, the colleagues that we have, that is what we're talking about here. It's one of the areas where, I feel uplifted all the time. I'm very honored to get to know all the amazing people. So many of them as well. You're good friends with many, many of the amazing experts and thought leaders, change makers, whatever word you want to use out there. And you don't flaunt it. You don't go out there and have all these things about who you know and why you know them. And I remember that that was my one of the things that I wanted to do as an entrepreneur early on, was when I was struggling to start the business. And back in this first business was this one here. It was like 2010 or something like that. Maybe it was earlier than that. And I was introduced to a lot of major people, and it was amazing. And I remember looking at masterminds that were 25,000, 50,000, 100,000, and I thought, I can't even afford like $100 a month. How am I ever going to do this? And so one of the things that I always wanted to do was build relationships like I am now, hopefully with you and with the people that are in our groups, and build that to be able to have that ability to share with everyone else. Right? That's why I started this show, because I never had that ability. It wasn't that I wanted to sit beside people and go, look who I'm sitting with, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just saying, it wasn't about that. It was more of, what can I take from the people that I know that are miles ahead of me, that I could bring back to my tribe, to the people that I'm coaching, and help them level up very quickly, because they may not have the ability to sit beside those colleagues or those people, right? So that's one of the things that I've always wanted to do. So uh, I guess the reason I'm telling you this is because I honor you and I honor who you're surrounded with as well. And because of that, that relationships blossom from those, right? Because I know you, I might get to know
Absolutely.
somebody else, and that helps everybody grow. So I want to thank you for that.
Well, and you're speaking to my personal motto, which is the real currency is relationship riches. That's
Yes.
it. At the end of the day, it's always about starts with people, ends with people, starts with you, and ends with a connection with somebody else. And a friend of mine in Ireland, he always talks about trust. And I remember pointing out to him that the word trust has a U in it for you, and also an S, a US. It's a you and an us. You don't have trust just by yourself. You have the us is the connection between two people.
Yeah.
So and also we talked about the groups and the people that we know. We really gotta be able to speak our truth, and people are connected with us, and they are magnetized to us when you are speaking your truth. And in this way, you attract the right kind of people when you're authentic and you have a clear message, and people understand, what you're about. And I've made up a few words in this world, and one of them is Anhavim, from dream to Anhavim. And I won't go into the etymology of the word, but it means purpose and mission led by vision.
Wow.
Purpose and mission led by vision. Anhavim, from dream to Anhavim. And I made this up way before I joined Geo's group, even though I've known Geo for at least a dozen years.
Right.
And I saw his dream movie, and he's all into this dream. Dreams are the essence of our ideas. It's the unshaped vision. So you have the dream, then you have the vision, then you have to have it, it's got to be purposeful to your heart, right? And then you have the mission, which is the who and the how. I say who before how. Like, who can help me pull this off? and then you can figure out the how.
Yeah, I Oh, no, go ahead.
Most people jump to how, and
Yeah.
they forget the other stuff, and when they're jumping to the how, it's like you can find a who that will help you. Either they can implement it, or they have the answer to the better how. So
That
so
was
many
where I was gonna go
people
with that. Yeah,
stumble.
because yeah, I was totally caught up in all the time, how, and it was within our group that, Benjamin Hardy, Dan Sullivan, like especially the Who Not How book, but before that, it was always, when I was when, showing up at the masterminds and the calls, it would be like, "What's the problem, Joey?" And like, "Ah, my bookkeeping is just killing me." "Well, you need a who, you need a how, like, get someone to do that." "Oh, they don't know how to do it as
Right,
well as I do." The whole entrepreneurial mindset, right? And it's
right,
so funny that you say that because in the last at least 3 years, and I know that doesn't seem like a long time, but it is a long time for me because I've been an entrepreneur over 40 years. So a solopreneur doing all of this stuff. So 3 years of making that mindset shift of now and when I've got a problem, it's okay, who can help me do this? And it's not only about the tasks because the tasks are easy now for me. Like who else can do this? Or can an AI agent do this for me now? Wait a minute, who is better at building an AI agent now than me, right? So it's always that mindset is there. But what's really hard to deal with was who who can help me and even just for these type of calls, who can help me make an impact on the world by showing up on Tuesdays and helping me just share knowledge and do that? Who can that be? And that was a hard place to be. It still is, but I'm working on it. And so, what would you say to somebody right now listening who's not in this mindset of who can help me because they're a solopreneur? They've been doing it all their lives. They're stuck in that mindset of like,
right.
I got to do this on my own.
So with respect to Dan and Benjamin, it's who before how,
Yes.
and because
Didn't I
you
say
need
that?
both.
I thought, yeah, okay. Did I mess that up? Okay.
No,
Yeah. Who, not how.
their book has a different word. There's actually a website that I threw up called Who Before How,
Oh,
which
okay,
is
cool.
my complete take on it. Excuse me.
Who
Who
before how.
before how? Because you still need the how. The
Hmm.
how gets things done. So mission is the combination of who and how.
Mm,
But within
yes.
that, it's who before how.
Right.
And the critical thing about the who, as we talked earlier, is relationship riches. The trust takes two people. It's us. And the who, the people. There's two types of who. It's the people who are the implementers. And then there's the people who are the beneficiaries, who are your clients, who are going to
Right.
receive this.
Right.
So you have to look at the who in more than one way, not just who can do it, but who's going to benefit from this, and what's the value that they will receive from it. So that's why I say who before how, because how will make it happen. But is it what level of person do you need? I mean, there's since I've been involved with tech for so long, I've actually said, look, I have total respect for anybody working in a First Nations, Western society, and they're a great coder. But you can hire somebody in another country for a tiny fraction of the price, and they can get
Exactly.
it done.
Yeah.
So it's not just the skill, it's also, is it your budget? And you were talking about AI. I mean, one of the who's I have is somebody like, I need you to write prompts for me. I don't
Yeah.
even need you to do the, like, just, write me these prompts, because that speeds everything up.
Exactly.
And the who, it's like you don't even have to even have your question perfectly articulated. You can find somebody who will help you articulate the question so you can get to the next thing you want.
That's right. Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned the multiple who's because if anybody has been watching my channel or this for the last 6 years I've been doing this, uh, my it's always about dream clients. Like so focused on who is going to benefit from your guidance, expertise, experience, who's going to benefit from the superpower that you want to step into. That's all that I'm all about. Everything's there. And I don't know how much have you been watching my stuff in the last little while, but I get deep. Like I don't have an avatar. Like I go multiple levels deep of who is this person that fits your life first and benefits from the business that you create, which is a part which then the program delivers on all fronts. So we start with you, me, as a person of like, what is this all about? And what do I want my life to be like? And start there in terms of how do I want to show up? How many hours do I got in a day? And how many, what do I want this to look like? So you start with your freedom first. You start with the ultimate lifestyle that you want and build around that because I grew up in an entrepreneurial family and I saw my dad die at 60 because he was constantly working, doing stuff for the family. And I would be, uh, watching all of this and I grew up with that mentality. And that's what I was doing as well. And then I realized that, my mission on this earth, as far as I know it today, is to stop people from doing that, is to stop people from sacrificing their life for their business because everybody ends up there. They start with a business or a program idea, and then they're trying to find clients, and they get stuck right there because they're just trying to find clients to build a business, and then they're like, "How do you get life balance? Why am I getting divorced? Why am I?" Well, that's because you didn't start with you. That's why. That's the
Right,
whole idea
because
of
they
it.
didn't
So
have the idea of from dream to on a beam, your vision, purpose, and mission is the who, the how. The vision has to incorporate the essence of who you are, and
yeah,
ideally, you're looking at it in terms of a masterwork. It's not just
yeah,
a job just to make money. When you're just
right,
financially focused without the other critical pieces, you have flaws, and things don't end up pretty. And I respect you. You came from an entrepreneurial background. That was not my father was a doctor. My mother was a nurse. My sisters, lawyers, professors. Who's this oddball sitting in front of a computer doing entrepreneurial like I did not fit into that picture at all.
yeah,
And so I didn't have that experience of what was going on. But when I started seeing different entrepreneurs, there were the entrepreneurs that were always giving up something important for their
hmm
business.
100%.
And you fill in the blank. They're giving up the relationship, the children, their health. They're giving up, not even going on vacation.
Yep,
Now, this particular time of day, I'll just tell you honestly, I typically I'm at the beach going for a walk, getting ready for the sunset, So I'm here, I'm happy to be here for part of it, but it's like, okay, well, I'll just have to, do my sunset tomorrow, because I committed to be here. But that's, if somebody said every day you're going to be on podcast at this time, I'd say, no, I can't do it because it doesn't
love it.
fit with something that gives me personal pleasure and the shift in my mind when I have that experience and enjoy that piece of my day makes everything else better. It's not something
Yeah.
that I want to overlook.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm honored because I know that it takes a lot to, give up things to be here, especially live with me, and it's around my time. It's around this is how it works for me. So that's I honor that. And the other thing is, you said something about, that you wouldn't violate what makes something. You didn't use that word, but I'm using it. Um, that makes you happy that every single day, if you had to do a podcast like this, and even if it was for money, you'd probably still say, no, I'm going to work something else out. And for me, decade ago, over a decade ago now, I made that choice of, okay, what does my world look like? Or what does my day look like? I don't care what anybody says. The 5 a.m. clubs and all these things, I respect them all, but I love my sleep. So I'm sleeping in. I'm sleeping in till 8:30, and I'm getting up and I'm just chilling into my day. That's who I am. I had to step into my truth. This is who I am. This is how I operate, right? So long story short, my days are set up that nothing happens before 12 p.m. Nothing. I don't care what it is. I'm not getting on a call. Somebody said I'm going to pay you $10,000 if you get on a call with me. Don't care. I'm not getting on a call. You'll have to wait till after 1 o'clock, right? And then I want my Fridays off. So I've had a 3-day weekend since I can't remember. Now, does it mean I don't work? No. But what it means is that my brain, and this is again, maybe part of my entrepreneurial, maybe part of my ADHD, whatever. It's just that my brain looks forward to Friday so that I can release everything. And if I don't do anything except watch Netflix and Seinfeld episodes for 3 days straight, I'm not feeling guilty, right? It's like that's the way it's going to go. And so this is me stepping into it. And I've shared that over and over and over again, and clients respect it. And maybe some of them don't, or maybe the people who don't work with me don't respect it. But I honor that. I honor that you know that. And I'm hoping that everybody listening to this does the same thing. And so the reason I'm sharing this long-winded rebut or response to this is because we're talking about masterwork. And the only way that I can do and fulfill and create my masterwork is to be energized the way that makes me happy and within that time frame. And that's how it will work. Otherwise, I'm pressed against the wall, constantly stressed, constantly reactive, constantly doing things. And what suffers? My masterwork, all the things around me that I care about.
It's
It's
true.
true.
You have to be in alignment with those
with those
feelings,
feelings,
and as I said earlier, it's an intentional act of creation. And
Yeah.
intentional means, we talked earlier, so you are in the category of a decade navigator. Not many people are. Not many
Wow. I'm honored.
people not many people have a year plan. They have external things that come onto their calendar. It's not really, they don't really control it. And this is not, by the way, bucket list items. That's
Mhm.
different.
Yeah.
Bucket list is, those are like things that people want. They go somewhere and do something or buy something. That's not what it is. It's really a reflection of who you are, how you walk through life. And you believe that you are creating this, again, this body of work, this master work, that's a reflection of who you are, that is dynamic and changing as you're
Yep.
growing and building this reflection. It's not just you and your business. And when you think about people who, not you and me, but we know lots of professionals who they work in a corporate job. And
Yep.
when they get to that retirement phase, what happens to them? They retire. They have the golden handshake. They have, oh great, to have a couple years. They golf, they travel, they go and do all these things. Then what? It's well known. 2 years after that, they go, now what do I do with my life? The
Yeah.
lost. Because they feel like they're no longer contributing. We have a great need to contribute, to feel like we're participating, to feel like we belong. And at different phases in our life, we're part of different groups. If you have small children, you might be part of the PTA, or you do different things. And that phase of life, when people are going like, what next? What now? What am I part of? How am I participating? How am I contributing? What difference am I making? We do different, but you have to be doing something to do something that is different. And
Right.
not everybody plans and thinks about it. If you're a decade navigator, you already are thinking about that, because you think of life in tens of years, not 1 year and not a month.
Yes.
And
Yes.
let's look at Olympic athletes. They're looking at things in 4-year periods. I've got to do all these, need to do all this preparation for this thing in 4 years. And some people, some young kids, and their parents are looking at it like, okay, we think you can get to the Olympics at this particular one, and they may be thinking, a decade down the road, long term. And using Todd Herman, he's got the alter
Yes.
ego effect.
Yes.
Basically the whole idea. You have a future self, an alter ego, where you imagine yourself so that you can be into that. And as part of your masterwork as well, as part of your dream to unavine, you are imagining yourself in these different roles. Like when you think of yourself over a 10-year period, you don't think of yourself exactly the same on year 1 as on year 10.
Right.
You imagine yourself physically different. You maybe have different environments, whether you want different environments, or you just imagine things are going to be changing. People change, people move. And, with technology, there's this whole additional level that I think is really wonderful and exciting. However, many people are scared. They feel
Yeah,
like history is going to rewrite itself. I'm going to be written out of the history. I'm not even going to exist anymore. So
yeah.
it's up to us to write the dialogue that is happening as we move into the future.
Yeah, and I'm with you there because, I had this conversation with my son, my daughter. We're just talking about AI and the impact it's going to have over the next 5 years and what is going to change dramatically in the next year. So I'm always like trying to be a forward thinker now because I missed out. I remember even missing out on the dot com thing and when technology or the internet really first began to explode. And I remember this is so funny. Maybe it's funny, crazy, but I remember putting up one of my first uh my sites and everybody was, landing or opt-ins and get leads and all that kind of stuff. Like put a little opt-in thingy on your sidebar or whatever. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing everything else because I'm always in this, this whole do different thing. I'm going the opposite way for everybody else. That was probably not my smartest move because I had a lot of traffic to it, but it was like, no, 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 that's crazy. I'm not going to go do that. So I missed out on a little bit of that thing, and so I didn't do it again. I'm not going to do it again. I'm looking forward to, okay, so how do I incorporate now in this age of AI? How do I incorporate this? How do I amplify who I am, but using it as the tool, but also looking ahead to like where's the dangers, where's the opportunities? Because there is stuff that's going to be wiped out in terms of, jobs or certain things. But there's also huge opportunity. And so I'm leaning into learning more about what those look like to use the technology to my advantage, which I know that in 5 years, this conversation will be completely different and we will be in a completely different world that I can't even imagine. You probably could, but I can't imagine what that 5 year world is going to look like.
What's happened in the last 3 years is phenomenal. I was beta
Right.
testing my stuff. I remember my family actually has a patent on machine consciousness. This
Oh,
was
no way.
and who's doing tons of work with AI companies because he understands it. But
Oh my gosh.
my current thought is because AI, who Noam Chomsky is?
I I'm gonna say I've heard the name, but I can't place it.
Okay, he is 99 years old. God bless the man, 99 years old. He is a linguist, and he came up with very specific understanding of linguistics and semantics, how things are connected. A lot of that basis is in the GPT, the generative text, right?
Okay. Okay.
And so he actually said, this was back in 2022, he goes, the way that I see it is that AI is just going and scraping and plagiarizing all of the content that people have taken 25 years to put up there to give you an answer without giving any attribution. Now, in some cases you might get link, but most of the time you're getting zero attribution.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at it and going like, look at hundreds of websites that I have, and going like, what am I just now housing, supporting, and paying for these domains and these websites so that AI can scrape them to give somebody an answer. Because before, when it was SEO, search engine optimization, and people, the sites would show up. But now they're not showing up. And
Right.
people are using GPT to do stuff. So, a big question is, what am I going to do with all of this? And what about other people? Because now you have to like drive ads to get to your sites as opposed to any SEO. And I think the number is that like over 70% of all domains have no website. They're just being parked. What about those
Wow.
70%? That's millions and millions of sites that are domains without sites. So I think we're going to see a big shift on how the internet is actually laid out. I think we're going to see a lot more gated content, membership, or different things to get in, because they don't want it all scraped and just being available to anybody, because of people's IP that is just showing up. I mean, sometimes I look at some of my own trademarks and going, my goodness, they're taking my trademark, taking the whole idea, not even a registered trademark symbol, whatever. So I think down the road there's going to be some changes. There might have to be some stuff going on, on a legal basis, but really people will be making a lot of changes. The use of domains and the way that websites are being used now, totally going to change.
Really?
That has nothing specifically to do with Masterwork. It's just my thought about AI in the moment.
Yeah. What do you think about, because this just came to me as you were talking. I use all three. Well, I use Perplexity, I use Claude, I use GPT, and I'm playing around with Manus as well. And then, but I also use Notion AI, and Notion AI is something that goes out and goes and finds other stuff for me, but I can keep it inside my stuff. This is one of the areas that I'm really glad that I did, um, which was gathering everything that I talk about and capturing it and putting it into, at the time it was Evernote, and now it is in Notion, and it's all of my works, all of my thoughts, all of my replies, all of my conversations, all of that stuff. And so I could use that AI inside of Notion to craft certain things, but it's contained within Notion itself. Right. So it's like, hey, I want to talk about this, or I know I've talked about this before. Can you help me gather some information about this so I can craft a LinkedIn thing? What do you think about that? I know we're on the topic of AI, but
I've used Notion. I've used ClickUp, which is similar to Notion.
right,
They have
ClickUp is, yeah,
they're based here in San Diego, so I got to support the local folks. And they have an AI tool in there as well.
yeah,
All of these tools are beyond incredible. Like, I am a firm believer in project management, which is how these tools developed in the first place.
yeah,
And there's so much flexibility in how you can use these tools for with other people, whether they're participating, whether they're not, as a place to brain dump your ideas and then later massage them and have the AI that's built into these tools to help you.
yeah.
I mean, some days I'm just like pinching myself and going like, how can I be so lucky to be living in the world right now and have
You
all
and me
this
both.
incredible. I feel like I'm a kid in the candy shop. This is so amazing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's really unlimited to it's up to your imagination. These tools are just going to work with you based on your imagination. I have found that there are certain limitations, and that's because people, because first off, it's sourcing information from the last 20 years, books and everything else. I mean, it's gone to Gutenberg.org and taken every single book, and it's all that's amazing. But there are new ideas that it doesn't have in its database. And so it's up to us as humans to use our creativity and our ideas to create it. And AI will help us to form. But the critical thing is our own knowledge and our own discernment is what will define how we are using the tool. I see all respect to anybody stuff that I've read, and I thought, why didn't you edit that? That's my first thought. It's like I can, because I've said I see the linguistic, the semantics. This is so AI. You could have just edited a little bit, and then I wouldn't have the idea that I'm reading AI and I'm reading something from the person. It's like, oh, I feel this is from them. Most people don't have the discernment to go, I should just like edit it. I should make it sound more like me. So that's just some text.
Exactly.
The video stuff that's coming up. Oh my goodness. I mean, the fact that you could take a snapshot of a person, 2D image with a little bit of audio, and turn the whole thing into an incredible video. I mean, you speaking of legacy, you can make your grandparents, your great grandparents come alive.
Yeah.
I mean, that part is fascinating.
Yeah.
Around 8 or 9 years
9 years
ago
ago
at
at
UC
UC
around University of
University
Southern
of Southern
California in Los
California in Los
Angeles,
Angeles.
they came
They
up with
came
the
up with
whole
the whole
AI
AI
model
model
where they
where they
did
did
3D
3D
holograms
holograms
and
of,
in this
and in
case,
this
they were
case, they
using
were using
Holocaust
Holocaust
survivors because
survivors
as they were
because as they
getting
were
older,
getting
they
older,
wanted
they
to
wanted to
capture them.
capture them.
And they
And they
used this
used
so
this so
that
that
you could
you could
ask a
ask a
question and
question
that
and that
person would,
person
in the
would in the
3D,
3D would
answer the
answer the
question because
question
they had
because they
enough
had enough
information
information
in the
in the
database so that
database
they
so
could
that they could
form things
form
and
things and
actually
actually
talk and
talk
use
and
their
use their
voice.
voice.
And
And
now we're
now we're
seeing
seeing
things have
things
gone
have gone
so
so
far
far
beyond
beyond Right.
that.
that.
And so
And
when
so
I
when
when I
I when
think
I
of,
think of,
legacies, and these are
these
tools
are
that we
tools
can
that we can
have to
have to
develop in our
develop
own
in our
life
own
that we
life
have
that we
to
have to
be
be
cognizant, put
cognizant,
some
put
things
some things
together
together
so that,
so that
you want to
you
think
want to
about
think
what's
about
going to
what's
be
going
good
to
for
be
my
good for my
great
great
grandchildren.
grandchildren.
If you're going to
You're
have
going to
great
have
great
great great
grandchildren, these are things that are
things that
not
are
in our
not in our
control,
control,
but you want
but
to
you want to
create these
create
things.
these things.
And the
The
people who
people who
have
have
um,
um,
are
are
living
living
regular
regular
lives. It's
lives.
not
It's
like you
not
have
like
to
you
be
have
the
to be the
Pope. The
Pope.
Pope
The
just
Pope just
died and he
died,
has
and he
had
has had
tons of
tons
people
of people
documenting his
documenting
life.
his life.
All of his
All of
stuff
his
can be
stuff can be
easily
easily
recreated.
recreated.
But as
But as
individuals, what are
individuals,
we
what
going
are
to
we
put
going to
in
put in
place
place
so that
so
our
that our
value, our
value,
knowledge, our
our
wisdom, our
wisdom, our
masterwork can be
masterwork can be
shared, whether
shared,
it's
whether it's
being
being
just shared
just
within a
shared within a
family
family
level,
level,
or
or
maybe
maybe
you're
you're
somebody who has a
somebody who has a
specific skill
specific
set,
skill
and so
set, and
that
so
is going
that
to
is
be
going to be
shared in other
shared in
parts
other
of the
parts of the
world,
world,
and that
and that
value can
value
be
can be
immediately
immediately
taken
taken
and
and
used
used
and
and
derive a
derive a
new
new
level of
level
work,
of
a
work,
new
a new
level of
level of
whatever it is
whatever
that
it is
you're
that
working
you're
on.
working on. I
The
mean, the
possibilities are
possibilities are
endless, and we
endless,
just
and we
have
just have
to
to
be a
be a
decade
decade
navigator
navigator
to
to
decide what are
decide
the
what are
things
the
that are
things that are
important to me
important to
that I
me
need
that
to
I need to
put
put
in
in
place as my
place as my
body of
body
work,
of
my
work, my
masterwork
masterwork
that will
that will
benefit
benefit
my
my
close
close
circle and
circle and
then
then
the world
the
at
world at
large.
large. Yeah, I love this because, as you're talking, I'm thinking that as I'm capturing everything that I do, I'm building that masterwork, that body of work. With in my case, it's within Notion and everywhere else I have it. And going back to we want to talk about with clients. I'm like this. If you haven't started doing any of this, then you need to start now because of what you just said all about AI going out and scraping the internet. It's only got 20 years worth of data that it can get to, and it's basically just regurgitating stuff that is not really yours. And so if you have another tool that is using AI to help you, this is why I love it. So for me, just to go for a second, is that I am addicted to information. I've always been that way, and it's like air to me. I just want to know more and more and more. And when I was a kid, I grew up just absorbing knowledge, absorbing and reading, and that's what I do now. Like 2 books a week, a month, at least. And I'm always finding out. And it's not because FOMO. It's more that I love to take information and then consolidate it into all of the great knowledge from all that stuff and really simplify it so I can give it to my colleagues and my clients. Say, here, just go do these things. This is from 10 or 15 books. Just go do these things and it'll help you out. So that's one thing. And the other thing is because I am ADHD and I've got ongoing stuff happening. It never shuts off. And and so what I really enjoy about conversations like this in private masterminds, one-on-one conversation on a Zoom call, there's always something that breaks through when I'm having a conversation, right? Because I'm just talking out loud, we're just spitballing, brainstorming. And that's amazing with a human. But now with AI, oh my God, Sherry, it's like you are my best friend. You're my BFF. It's so good because I can bounce ideas back and forth. And the more it knows about me, the more it can spit back as a colleague who I know I got you. You're heart centered. You're about this. These are the people that you got. Here's what I'm thinking. And then it's not like, cause I'm also aware of the cheerleading. I call it the cheerleading thing where AI is like, that's fantastic. It's great. So what do you think about this? And oh, that's even better. We should go that. Like, so it's always giving you that. Yes, let's go for it. So I'm aware of that one, but that's not what I'm talking about. But when you truly get that conversation going and you just say, "Look, pull out pull out the stuff that doesn't sit well with you, like what's going on here. Don't give me the that it's always great. Challenge me on this." Oh my gosh. Like you, I could sit there for hours and hours, go down these rabbit holes, and it's incredible for us to be in this time. I am so honored and grateful to be here because we have this ability now to share more of our masterwork with the world with a tool, an AI that helps us get it centered in, dialed in, more concise, right?
Exactly.
Exactly.
And what you were saying earlier, that it's so important, who the client is, who you do a deep dive, who is going to receive this, who will benefit from it. What difference will it make in their life?
Yeah.
You're not selling shoelaces here. You're selling something that has an ability to transform their life, their business, what's going on with them. So for somebody to really understand their target market, their client, their avatar, if you will, whether you've defined it or not. I mean, I say for me, I like to work with high achieving entrepreneurs, professionals that are probably 50 and older. That's a
Right.
very broad stroke, and it's also tricky to combine the entrepreneurial person and the professional person because they have different operating systems, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as humans, the critical piece is that desire to want to do more, to want to do something different, to do something that's more attracted to their essence, so that it's part of that both the contribution and participation. And
Yeah.
even more so for men than for women. Even though women, particularly aren't entrepreneurial women, but men definitely need that because it is so much more wrapped into their identity as a man than women.
Hmm. Interesting. You're working so okay, there's a couple things. One thing is you're working with both men and women, correct?
I do.
Yeah, it's really uh, my base is I would say 85% women. Um, very independent, strong women who are
Art-centered women.
yeah, but they're independent. I don't know what the right political word of it is, but they're just driven. They get stuff done.
And
And
they're entrepreneurial women can't stop them.
yeah, and so when I first learned this or looked at that pattern, and I'm like, why? Because so many of them they drive everything. Like even the husband is not like they wear the pants. The women wear the pants in the family. Like that's what right. So they're the ones who, and so when they're working with me, I ask them straight out. I go, why are you working with me? Why are you working with a guy? And I never really got a straight answer. Um, but then later on, it
I'll give
was
you an answer
okay.
because it's very important to have polarity. And polarity, men and women are different forms of energy. And if they're wearing the pants in the family, in their home life, in business, they need polarity in business, and you represent that polarity for them as well as your smart guy.
Hmm. Thank you. I'm going to receive that for a second. Yeah. Um, yeah, because it just blew me away that it was like that because of like what you said. They just did everything. And I'm like, well, why if you're not listening to your husband realistically, why would you listen to me? And you just open my eyes a little bit. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Polarity in the business, but at home life, it's a completely different thing. Yeah, cool. Anyway, I
It's
don't know why I
very
went there.
different. There's a saying my father used to say, for a man, it's very difficult to be the hero at home. You can be the hero almost anywhere else, but it's rare that you're the hero at home.
Wow, that is so interesting. And I'm thinking about my own life and that's more than likely true. Why is that?
My father was a smart guy. I'll tell he's my definition of a master man as my dad. He was a man's man. He was a military doctor. No nonsense guy. Yet great sense of humor. Can stand up and recite poetry. And what he said to me at one point, I'm sure that at that point I was already married. I had kids, and I was asking him about my mother. We had met somewhere. We were in Vegas, and my mother had left we were at a restaurant, he left the table, and I said, "Dad, Mom wanted to order this particular thing. She wanted to share some food with you, but you don't like that." And he looked at me, he goes, "You have to understand where there's compromise, and you have to understand what is the driver of the other person. And he said, your mother likes to be right. She'd like it to be her idea. So I always let her be right, let it be her idea. And anything I want, I set it up so that she thinks it's her idea. Because I do not need the credit. And it
Right.
was like this light bulb moment. It's like super smart guy. He has no ego in this. She gets what she wants. He gets what he wants. And I see so many couples. There's this like tug of war thing where they want to be the right one. They want it to be their idea. It's like my dad said, who needs that? I get what I want anyway. I don't need credit. You know,
That
so
is
it's like,
brilliant.
remove the ego.
Yeah, 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 yeah. You know, it's funny you say that because Ryan Holiday's got the ego is the enemy, right? And for the last, I don't know how many years again, I've got that alarm coming up around 3 o'clock or something on my phone. Ego is the enemy. Like every single day, I have 6 alarms that happen, and even for all these years that they've been happening, I still can't tell you what they are in the order that they are and what time they happen. That I'm guessing that the ego is the enemy is right around 3 o'clock because at that point in my day, it would be the point where I'm like, no, don't you know who you're talking to? Don't you know that the world revolves around me, right? So it's like, Joey equals the enemy. Oh yeah, that's right. Go back to the team, say, sorry about that. I totally messed up. It's probably my fault, right? Whatever. So yeah, I'm learning. I'm getting there.
Right.
Sherry,
Well,
this
and
has
you
been
know, whether it's somebody in your personal life or somebody like when you know who they are and what's important to them, and without it being manipulative or without placating that situation, but just knowing this will help them get what they want more, and it's important to them. As long as you're not losing your,
yeah,
your principles, your values, pay attention to the human and feed them what they want so they can get what they want as long as it's not off base.
yeah. And that also goes right back into business as well. Like this is very important for at least the way I look at it from what can make them what can help them make the decision and make it their decision. And again, not in a manipulative way because we've all been through the whole courses about, what to say and how to manipulate, how to persuade and influence whatever the words you want to use. And that's not me, but it's more about you know, g- entering that conversation and listening more than speaking more, but helping them make a decision that is right for them at the right time and all these other things. If you want to relate this back to business, that's how I show up. And that's why, I think that over the last couple of years, I've been able to become better at selling than I ever was because of that mentality shift. This is not attached to money. This is attached to their outcome all the time. Whether or not they're going to buy from me does not matter within this moment of conversation. That's how I approach every conversation. It's never a sales conversation. It's about what can you get out of this right now, whether that's a shift in mindset, whether it's, whatever. How is
It's
this
how you
conversation
invest
going to
in
leave you better?
people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How's it going to leave
that
you
is
better?
how you invest. Yeah, yeah,
Amazing.
absolutely.
Sherry, I don't want to keep you longer. Maybe there's a little bit of sunset for you to go check out.
I'll just
This
have to
has been
catch it at a different spot.
okay. Okay, blame it on Joey. This has
No
been
blame.
amazing.
Something wonderful and new will come out of it.
Yes, definitely. I love your energy. I'm so glad that we had this opportunity to finally meet. I'm sure this is not going to be the last time. I really appreciate you. I am grateful for you. Thank you for being here on Tuesday, and I am hoping that we can get you back here on another show in the
I
future
would love
to talk
that.
about. Amazing. Thank you. Is there anything that you want to, leave the audience with before we jet off for this Tuesday?
Just a reminder that Masterwork lives in the space, the intersection between livelihood and legacy.
Love that. Thank you, Sherry. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We'll see you next Tuesday for another Heart Centered Marketing show. Have yourself an amazing, amazing week. Bye for now.